Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel. Today I have a boatload of news for you. Some of them sensational, others rather small, so let me jump right in as there is little time. So we begin with Shape Up, the secret muscle powder from Germany. I used it to make myself fit about 3 years ago, and that worked miracles, I have to say, but I was also going on a diet. Now, after not working out for almost 2 years, I've decided to rejuvenate the whole program and started to work out again, and I'm just, this thing is really a miracle. I'm just about 2 weeks in after 9 workouts, and I can really feel my old strength coming back to me like nothing. It's amazing. I don't think I could do it without it. So I'm going to bulk up for 6 weeks, so 4 more weeks, and to regain my old strength. And then I will go on a diet and cut, and hopefully look much better afterwards. So I would like to invite you to join me on this endeavors. I put the link to the Facebook group in there, and you can now also order the powder again from the GoGun store. We ship internationally, and to the US there's only €5 of a shipping cost. And the second thing, this here, the folding Ulfbert, another prototype iteration of my pocket sword. It's really cool. It is designed to retain the original shape of a sword with the pommel so that the balance is great. This has a lot of weight here. And as you see, the blade is almost 5 millimeters thick. This is heavy, it's about 400 grams. It's sharp only on one side, and that is a must because otherwise you would cut yourself really bad when you do this. But this was the only way to achieve the typical Viking or Frankish handle, so that it really sits in your hand like an original Ulfbert sword. So here you see the previous iteration. It looks almost identical, but it isn't. First thing that you will notice is that the blade axis is now completely different. This is much thicker, and also the pin, the bolt that holds back the blade when it swings open, has been made a lot thicker and more sturdy. And that is because this one failed in my hacking tests. I was hacking with it and it was falling apart, so I had to repair it. And of course it's not made for hacking, but a knife like this must be able to endure it. So also what you can see is that, see the inner scales in the frame actually, because that's a frame lock knife, are now much thicker. That adds a little bit of weight, but it actually feels good in the hand because this is a knife for men, not for boys. And this one is made in D2 steel, very excellent steel, but of course it is limited to only 1800 pieces. Whereas there will also be an S90V version, and the S90V version, of course, is very hard to sharpen, but it never gets dull. Excellent blade steel, but it's also very expensive. So the D2 one will be €99, and the S90V one will be €250. Available in about 6 months. I'll keep you updated, and also, we'll test it now and see if it endures the stress test. So here is my test board, and as you can see, there are still all the little nicks from the test in there. So it must survive 10 really strong hits with the blade, like in a hacking motion, in order for me to give it green light. Okay. Gehalten. It holds. Nice. Okay, next issue, crossbows. The Adder, of course, is a huge success. We've sold so many, and still orders are coming in like crazy. We're now about half through selling the September shipment. The incoming container that will arrive hopefully like in a week or so. in Hamburg is completely pre-sold. So it's a crazy successful crossbow, mostly because it's tactical and it has repeating functions. Now I'm thinking about, can I also make a full-size version, because the arrow is of course basically a small like pistol or a carbine-size crossbow. Now a full-size crossbow of course has to have the same features. Quick reloading, like a self-cocking mechanism, but also a few features that I haven't done before. So I made a prototype, and it still leaves a lot to be desired, but this is done so that you have some insights into how I work in terms of development. So this is a prototype. As you see, it looks very skinny. That is because this is the other part. Removable, exchangeable magazines. And you can see that I use heavy bolts, because it's a full-size crossbow. It needs a heavier projectile, but still the projectile is rather short. It's a short bolt only, of course it also has like more slim vanes, but that is so that the magazine is still halfway compact. Now what you can do with this is you can actually put this into the device here, like so, and you see there is a hook on this end and there is like a rod on the other end, that when you put it in, it snaps in place. See, like so. Okay, now it's snapped in place and it will now hold. And it's now ready to shoot. But of course first I have to release the tension on the spring, because right now the arrows are still held back by this little lever here. Yeah, so I thought a lot about how to cock this thing. And I came back to the brake barrel action. So how this works is, you press on this lever here, so that the whole thing disengages, like so. And now you can simply cock it like that, very easy. And it snaps back into place, and then you can immediately take aim and fire. And then repeat. And now we're coming back to FX air guns, because what I have here is one of the few samples of the new Indie Aero model. It's a model that we haven't introduced before, because I think the FX had some issues with the pump, but it's now all been fixed. It's a very, very compact little shooter. As you see, it's of course a bullpup design, everything is just great. But the biggest advantage is the built-in pump. That's why it's called Indie, for independence. So this is independent from any kind of source. So you don't need a bottle, you don't need a compressor. In fact, on this model you can't even connect one for legal reasons, so that it may legally count as a crossbow, since it's muscle powered only. And the integrated pump means that you can at any time simply refill the air pressure, like so. 10 pumps per shot, and if it's full, then you can have 4 full power shots. And each shot has about 100 joule. So that's like, I don't know, 80 something foot-pounds. So it's really, really powerful and accurate. I mean, look at the scope that I put on it. So I wouldn't do that if the weapon would not be accurate enough. And now I will show you how accurate that is, because there at the target there is a small coconut, the smallest that I have. And we will try to hit it with one shot and shooting in standing position. Okay. Not right in the middle, but I think accurate enough. And now we see the result. It went through both sides of the coconut, killing the zombie. Next, magazines for bolts and arrows. So many people said, please, please, please try to make a replica of the Van Helsing crossbow from the movie, I think from the early 2000s, with Hugh Jackman playing a vampire hunter. He had like the coolest crossbow that you've ever seen. Of course, repeating and full auto and everything. And he was using exchangeable rotary magazines. And so many people said, please, please, please make one, make one, make one. But it's actually a huge challenge. But I actually have started the work and I've got some success, and I want to show you how far I've come so far. So, still empty, but this is a rotary bolt magazine. And yeah, let me show you its features. Here it is. My first attempt. As you see, it has like a spiral track inside here. That's where the crossbow bolts will be put with the tip and with the nock. And there is actually some kind of magazine spring, but it's of course rubber powered. What else? So there is a rubber power band that powers it, and as you see, it can really turn almost the entire stretch. So let me put this to the limit here, and then of course it stops here, but it's almost a complete turn. And when I release it, you can see what happens. Bang! It travels, and of course it gets harder the more far you go back, but that is actually something that you want, because then also the weight and the friction of the bolts will increase, so you need more spring power towards the end when it's almost full. Okay, now I put in some arrows. I don't really have enough bolts to fill it up, because it would take approximately 60 arrows, and as you see, it's already working fairly good. It's actually pushing the arrows nicely in, like so. So as you see, they are under nice pressure, and would even of course squeeze them out if I would let them, which I still have to solve that problem, but it's not so hard. Of course now people would say you need to spiral this in so that you can fit even more, but don't forget that these have vanes, so the vanes actually must fit beneath each other, and that would mean that you would not be able to put a lot of additional arrows in there, but of course friction and everything would increase by magnitudes, so I don't think that this is an option. Anyway, I'm working on the concept and I hope that you're gonna like it. You can also use this as a mini launcher for the arrows. It's not very effective. Exciting news! The AR-480 MK2 steel ball shooting crossbow is available again after many years of no availability. We finally got all the sources together and had another major production run happening. So far we're just getting some bits and pieces, but they never made it into the store because there have been so many people asking secretly for it that there was never any stock. But now there is. So as you see, this is still my original one from 2013, but they haven't changed much. Same tooling, same everything. And it shoots 8 to 12 millimeter steel balls with mighty force. This is probably the fastest ball shooter that is muscle powered on the market. And of course it shoots arrows too. Let me show you its features again after all those years. I think the coolest feature of this thing is that you can shoot steel balls because there is a magnet inside here. Actually it's a double string, so there's not just one string but two. And here is a little piece where you could put in a steel ball and it will be held by a magnet. If you want to shoot arrows, you see there is a whisker biscuit that you can simply flip up and then install and then shoot regular arrows. The only difference is that in the end the nock has a little screw in this. This is magnetic, so it holds on to the very same part, the very same magnet that actually holds the steel balls too. There is an integrated winch, but it's using a rack and pinion method. So there's actually a rack going underneath here, and it's operated by the integrated winch, which I love because it's totally silent and very, very easy to operate. So first thing that you do is press this lever down here so that you can put the sled to the front, like so. And then you can just take the notch here and put the loop over it. Now what I recommend is putting in the steel ball, since should by any chance the shot falls early, like a, I don't know, tearing string or something, that you can avoid shooting the weapon empty. So put the steel ball against this, so. And now you have a choice. You can either just have the Wretched Mode, which means that you can release the winch handle at any time, or you can keep this pressed down and then you can cock the whole thing in total silence. An amazing feature, I think. And as I said, it's fairly easy to cock. It's effortless actually, and in the end you simply release this and you're done. And then you don't need a safety because you have to actually cock the whole thing, like cock the hammer by pressing it down like so. And now you can shoot. Dang! With a lot of force. And then repeat. We'll do a test shot from 10 meters at the air gun target. Okay, so that was an 8 obviously, but look what the steel balls do to the target. I already kind of reinforced it with a solid aluminum piece here, but look what the steel balls are doing. I got 3 shots in this here. Amazing. Now we're coming to the last news update from today, and it has to do with this rhododendron bush that my wife recently had to trim because there's been very many dead branches. And one dead branch was actually this thick thing here that died I don't know how many years ago. And as you see, it's crumbling away, it's hollow here already. So it's in poor condition. It's probably died like 15 years ago or something. Okay, so I opened the fork up with a chainsaw to look at the inside, and I found that as often with really dead wood that's been dead for a long time, the decay brings out the grain and the colors in an unbelievable way. So the trick is to salvage the piece of wood just before it's completely gone. And this one was really close to that. So when I started to make a slingshot out of it, I discovered like rotten parts and even like a ton of like black little balls. That's probably feces from insects. I don't know what kind, but it looked nasty. So, and of course left a huge hole in the whole thing. And several times I wanted to simply discard the whole thing and say this is too much gone, too far gone. But then I decided to really give it a go and put a threaded rod inside of the fork to stabilize it, and also removed a rotten part from the back side of the handle against a healthy part from another piece of the same branch. Then I smoothed it down, and then I sanded it, and I gave it a poly coat, like a polyurethane coating, so that it won't rot any further. And in the end, I think it's a beautiful slingshot. So this is it, fully banded up and polished. I think it's beautiful. It's excellent in the hand, and of course you can still see the marks. I actually put some aluminum file dust in there so that you can see the mark, because when you repair things, that's what I usually try to do. It still needs to look nice, but you need to see where it's been repaired, just so that it's authentic. And also I had to do, here you can see the steel rod that I glued in. So a lot of work, and now it's fully banded up with the double TheraBand gold. So it is a very solid shooter now, even though the wood was completely rotten. But it was a battle to get this done. As always, the best ammunition for double TheraBand gold, I think, is the 60mm steel. And the target is 50 meters away. It's a big piece of steel that we will hopefully hear the clong when I'm hitting it. Nummer 2, number 2. Number 3, Nummer 3. Yeah. So as you see, not only is it a beautiful slingshot, it's also a really good shooter, because 50 meters is some distance for a slingshot. So I hope you enjoyed this potpourri of updates and information, because that's it for today. Thanks and bye bye.